Very loud bass drums, because that's all you hear throughout the entirety of this movie, wasn't it,
Yeah,
Janine?
it's a bit repetitive, but
No.
very Batman-esque.
No, I do not care about any repetitiveness or it getting on anybody's nerves. I thought the music in this movie was unbelievable, but that's a nice start, isn't it? Because I'm very excited,
Yes, I can
Janine.
tell. That's what an excited Morgan looks like, guys.
Yes, we're talking about the Batman because, we've had a week to digest. Well, some of us have had a week to digest.
Yeah.
Others of us have had 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days to digest this fairly large movie.
Yeah.
But what we thought in giving, in doing the stream now, doing the stream this week, would be that those watching the stream would, given the most people the most chance to watch the movie, was
Yes,
our
and they would
thought.
also have that time of digesting.
Because I think you need the time of digestion, much like eating a large meal. It takes time. You can't. You're going to feel a little bit sick when you've just finished it.
Yeah, you give your body time to break it down. Break down all the parts and
But
figure out what's going on.
when you've broke it down, you realise, ooh, that was lovely. I mean, whether you'd call this movie lovely or not, I don't know. But I have on the thumbnail of this video, I put, what did I put? A brutal, brooding breath of fresh air, I think
Yeah.
I wrote, which is pretty much sums up my thoughts on the movie. Hello, by the way. We're talking about the Batman today, if you haven't figured it out. I'm Morgan. There's Janine. Isn't
Hello.
it entertaining? I have a cup of tea and I'm saying, hi, Zoe Kravitz. Hi. I'm manifesting, Janine. I'm
Yes.
manifesting things.
I told you should have wrote I am vengeance, but I don't think you had enough letters for that.
There's barely enough room for Kravitz, never mind vengeance as a word. Hello, Steve. In the chat, it does have the bat and the cat because, again, hi, Zoe Kravitz.
Who was
Just on
great,
the
by
off
the way.
chance,
Yeah.
Janine, that Zoe Kravitz may be here. Just saying hello. That's all. That's all I want. That's all I'm after.
I'm sure she'll find this. Yeah, I'm sure she'll find this and appreciate that. So
I'll be upset if she didn't. To be honest, I'll be severely disappointed in everybody. Everybody. I don't know why I'd be severely disappointed in everybody. Steve, please stop judging me in the chat. But we are talking about the Batman. We have all of our categories, don't we, Janine?
we do.
It's unusual, really. I think first off, why a completely new Batman movie, of all things, feels so different to literally anything else you get from this genre of movie in recent years. Not since Logan have I felt a superhero movie be so different to the rest. And this is a Batman movie. We've had 87,000 Batman movies. I think this one's pretty special. I really do. Just for being able to be that for seemingly so many people. Certainly for me as well. To be a breath of fresh air as a Batman movie, I think takes real skill on everybody's part actually making the movie, but we're going to get into all that. But overall, Janine, what do you think about the Batman?
I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, and I think maybe I need another rewatch because
Okay.
I found myself kind of like I'm an idiot. So I found myself really just spending too much time trying to figure out, and solve the Riddler's plan and like figure out what his plan even was, that it took my focus away from other things happening. So I feel like I missed a lot of the really solid character things that were happening and, just put my focus on the wrong thing to where I didn't really get to enjoy the full picture as much as I think I maybe would have.
Well, would you perhaps like to talk about first then the story of the movie? Because for me, I mean, look, I am monstrously uninterested in the particulars of the plot of a Batman movie as much as I am w- being within a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, I like the story. I like the themes of the story. I like the idea that every one of the characters seems to be so damaged by some sort of thing that's gone on in the past, or whether if they're not damaged by it, they think way too much about it and really want to try and, you know, refresh their lives. I think it's a movie that basically everybody's on like, we need to hit refresh on everything that's going on. It's like a cleanse and rebirth kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I like that about it a lot. It's very political, isn't it? I mean, it's incredibly noirish and nasty at times, the
Yeah.
story.
And it also felt like a fresh kind of rebirth take of uh kind of something we got in Batman Forever, like the Riddler as a fangirl, but it's instead of
Yeah.
it being Bruce that he's like obsessed with, it's Batman and he feels like they're a team and that they're like, they could be friends and they're doing this together. Um so yeah, it's like that same kind of Riddler, really banking his plan on, getting support from somebody he sees as his friend, Batman,
Yeah.
uh, and kind of obsessing and fangirling instead of that focus being on Bruce Wayne like it was in Batman Forever.
Steve says he saw it in New York City, I think that is, and also needs another rewatch. I mean, look, there's a lot to take in from
Yeah.
this movie. There's an awful lot to take in. If you do pop in the chat, by the way, please do, or pop into the stream. Please say hi in the chat. We like to know who's here. It's fun for everybody. Just say, you don't have to say anything more than hello because
Yes.
we love that. But there is an awful lot to take in. There's an awful lot of plot to the movie. Everything, it's very kind of, well, that's happening, and then that's happening.
Yeah.
You
It
barely
for
get a minute to sit and breathe,
And
which
that's what kind of, I think, distracted me a little bit because,
okay.
yeah, it was hard for me to follow it because it felt like, okay, well, I'm focusing on this thing, but oh, this thing's happening over here. And okay, what's going on here? Oh, okay, but this thing is developing over here. And that's what kind of threw me off, I think, a little bit.
Hello, Marie Zambino
Hi,
in the chat.
Marie.
And I get that. I do get that a lot. Weirdly to me, and I don't know if this is just me, because to be honest, you are the only person I've talked about the Batman to. I've not talked about it to anybody else. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. They probably have. Well, other people have definitely seen it, but I mean, people I see face to face. With it being a great deal of plot, that does feel like, there's not time when nothing happens. There's always something that seems
Mhm.
quite important to the rest of the movie happening.
Yeah.
I think the pacing of it helped me feel like I was just sat in the world and was just having things happen, which is as we know, a kind of movie I love. Is
Yeah.
sit me somewhere and just let things happen. And that can be a lot of plot things, but in an odd way, it reminded me of, say, playing, the Batman Arkham games, which I did play a lot of years ago. And, every so often put them in now to just prat around on
Yeah. Hey,
a
Tina.
Batclaw. Hello, Christina. But sometimes I will just do that. And everything, there's always some nonsense happening at every turn if you actually play through the story of those games.
Yeah.
You don't get a minute to breathe because it's a video game. The purpose of that is always, you want something to
Following
be
some
happening.
mission and going to a
Yeah.
bunch of different. Yeah. So yeah, that's I think also something that kind of got me a little just muddled up in the plot to where I kind of missed a lot of great character things. So like in the back of my mind, I saw those things, but I didn't really get to appreciate them as much. So kind of sitting with it, I was able to kind of go back to those moments and really kind of enjoy some things. And even things that I thought didn't play well, like sitting with them and kind of putting things into realization for me really helped me enjoy that more. Like I really thought, in watching it, like how embarrassing it was that like Jim and Batman were making these mistakes and figuring things out in front of, the Penguin who they're interrogating and him
Yeah.
kind of making them look foolish. Um, but in sitting with that moment and realizing, well, no, this is year 2. He's building up to being world's greatest detective. So
Yeah.
he's gonna have blunders. He's gonna have, things that he's not quite figuring out. But like we do see moments of him really quick on figuring out riddles and putting pieces together. So we've seen him be smart. So in this one moment where he's not as smart, when I kind of at first thought of it as I'm like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing. He looks kind of stupid. Like, what kind of detective is he? I had to sit with that moment and realize this is only year 2. He's figuring it out. And it's also a great character moment with him and Jim working together and building that relationship, which I thought was really strongly portrayed here more than I think any other Batman movie. Even
I
Nolan
do
did
agree
have some
there.
strong things with him and Jim, but I think this was like they were working hand in hand, and I felt the closeness here was a great kind of groundwork for hopefully things that will come later.
They haven't worked this closely together since the 60s, Janine, and in that situation, it was literally just telephone conversation. Please help, Batman. Please help
Yeah,
now.
we can't do this. Yeah,
We're so incompetent, Batman. We can't do anything. Please come and help us.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner. That's their entire relationship in that situation. But scenes like, fumbling in front of the Penguin, I think really add to this movie. It makes me feel like the movie's not taking itself too seriously, which I
Yeah.
love about it as well. Because, oh my God, does it look like the most serious movie ever? But then
Yes.
actually, when you watch it, it's kind of stupid.
Well, it sets up a kind of realistic, like a grounded Gotham like Nolan did, but his was too normal. It still has that fantastical, like this is set on a fictional plane of existence, like the other, like the Burton, Gotham.
Yes, we have a Gotham's category.
Okay, so we can get into that there, but
Yes,
yeah, I think how grounded but still, you know, comic booky it felt really helped the world they were building
yeah,
and helped kind of tell the story.
and I was far less interested in the particulars of the plot than I was what the movie was trying to say, and that's always the case with me.
That's
I
always the
mean,
case with you.
I
Yes, you
lose
are very
count of how many
visual.
times I say that kind of
Yes.
thing on streams, on shows, or whatever it is. But so ultimately, did I enjoy the themes of the movie and the ideas behind what was going on in the movie? A hell of a lot. Did I enjoy sitting in and watching these things happen around me? Absolutely. so ultimately, then I have to say I really enjoyed this story because the plot is just a plot. You know, I've never been one who gets upset about plot details because I didn't write the movie.
And you are a visual movie watcher. You're watching for those scenes that look like pictures, and you're looking at the visuals and the color and listening to the
Big
score and
picture.
all. Yes, you are not a plot person. I am kind of more of a plot person. I'm trying to follow the story and see where it goes, and I'm trying to like figure out, with the characters, even ahead of the characters, where it's going to go. That's how I follow a story. And that's why I think Batman Returns is my favorite Batman movie, because of that story. Because I absolutely love the theme of duality in that movie, where every single character that we're following has two different sides to them, and they have their reasons for showing these different sides and when, and that theme plays so deep into the plot that it makes the plot easier to kind of read and follow.
Yeah.
And it plays so much into the bigger theme of duality. I can get into that. This one, yes, the story definitely plays a lot into the themes of, lies and want and your own kind of form of justice that you're trying to get across. And
Yeah.
um
With every character,
how
really.
how you think you're bettering your situation for selfish reasons, or you're, you know figuring out the problems of Gotham in your own way, in your own brand of justice. But because there was kind of so much going on with that plot, it wasn't until like the end, and even kind of taking a day to sit with it, that like I realized that was the full theme of it. Whereas
Okay.
right away with Batman Returns, I'm like, immediately get the concept of duality.
I get that. I get that. Catching up on some stuff in the chat. Christine is working on the Sunday. Oh dear.
Oh.
That's unpleasant, isn't it? Steve says Colin Farrell was hysterical and unrecognizable. I thought he was also both of those things. We have a
Yes.
penguin section as well, of course. And Steve also says Batman and Gordon did have a great collaborative relationship. Yes, they absolutely did. We do have character categories, and for fear of this going, absurdly too long, as it is perhaps warranted to do, ultimately, story-wise, I think we can summarize it being that I'm not massively interested in the particulars of what happened. Whether there was plot holes or not, I ain't gonna recognize them.
Yeah.
And that's just natural for me. You found yourself almost too distracted by the constant plot that
Yeah.
it almost didn't you felt like it didn't allow you to enjoy as much of the rest of it as you perhaps would have. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well then, how about would you like to move on to characters or the world itself, Gotham?
Well, let's break down these characters.
Okay, so let's start with the obvious then. The Batman.
So
What do we
were
think
you
about the Batman?
were you what were your thoughts when you heard the casting of Robert Pattinson?
Look, I can't remember when I heard the casting of Robert Pattinson. If somebody would be able to tell me when the casting of Robert Pattinson as Batman was announced, and whether it was before or after I'd watched The Lighthouse or not.
I'm pretty sure it was after.
Because if it was after, then I would have been, ooh, interesting. If it was before, I would have been like, ooh, interesting. And there's a big difference there, I think. Steve says, good Bat, bad Bruce. He wasn't interested in being Bruce Wayne.
Yes. So I think that was kind of the point. So
It is the
like
point.
everyone says like, oh yeah, he was not a good Bruce Wayne. But I think that was kind of the point. Like
He's a
it's year
perfect Bruce
2.
Wayne for the
He's super
story he's
young.
in.
He's focused on, doing what he needs to do to exert his brand of justice onto Gotham. He doesn't want to run Wayne Enterprises. He doesn't want to do any of that side. He's
He wants to
not
be alone.
interested. Yes, he wants to be left alone. So the fact that he was so just like, ugh, Bruce Wayne, like that's why Batman for most of this movie, and I think that was kind of a smart choice.
Yeah.
So that, you know, when he comes to kind of the realizations he comes to by the end of this movie, I think he's going to realize he needs to put on that face and be this and put on that air that we've seen from other Bruce Waynes, the womanizing, cocky, to kind of really separate himself from Batman. And, you know, he can use Wayne Enterprises to, you know, fund whatever he needs to do as Batman and keep that whole operation going. So I think he's going to realize maybe, you know, in later movies, if that does happen, that he's going to need to put on that persona. But I like that he's so against it at first. I like that how he played, you know.
Yeah,
Just
those instances are when Bruce Wayne is comfortable being Bruce Wayne and Batman.
yeah.
Robert Pattinson Batman is literally only comfortable being Batman. That's all he wants to do. He's all he cares about. He doesn't care about Alfred, really. He's just like, oh, Alfred's here. For God's sake, can I just go out and punch people at
By
night
the
again?
end, yes. And so I didn't like seeing him be mean to Alfred, but by
He
the
was a
end,
bit mean to
you see
Alfred,
him
yes.
rushing. You see him rushing to get back to Alfred because he's worried about him. You know.
Yes, of
And in
course.
the hospital, that is a nice moment as well. So we know that there's
It
care
is.
there, but
Of course
you
there
know,
is.
at a certain point, I think he's going to listen to Alfred and be like, you know, when Alfred's telling him, you need to run this business, and like, and putting it upon him that, you know, this was your family's legacy and all of those things. Once I think Alfred can guilt him enough with family legacy. That
Oh
he
yeah,
will get his shit together and become the Bruce Wayne that we know.
yeah, and in almost to kind of again this whole idea of cleansing and rebirth. You know, by the end of this movie, he is not. You know, he's hope rather than fear. By the end of this movie, and that's the character journey he goes on. Really, it's becoming comfortable in himself and realizing that he is there not to punch the evils out of Gotham, but to help the good within Gotham rise,
Yes.
rather than the you know the negative way of
Yeah,
thinking
so that
about
was
it.
a great scene of that kind of self-sacrifice moment and reaching
Yeah,
out to help the people and them kind of being afraid of him and him having to make himself a symbol for the positive things
yeah,
and, you know, for helping. And, you know, so when you see that signal, it's not about fear to the good people. It's not about fear for everyone. It's only about fear to the bad people, you know. So
exactly. I just want to put a few comments up on the screen from the chat. I like this one from Tina, which was
yeah.
it was so funny to see Bruce be like, "You're not my dad, Tina." Yes, it was.
Especially with that hair, yeah, which I also said Steve did
Yes.
not like the haircut.
Steve says, terrible haircut, forced pouting with Alfred. At the end, he does imply more philanthropic behaviour. He does.
May improve,
May
but
improve
right
now,
now,
but
meh.
I
Yeah,
just
get
think that is
I get
simply the character story
Yeah,
we are dealing
for
with
the
him.
moment, yeah.
So I think it's going to be, he did not believe in Harvey Dent. Well, I don't believe in Harvey. Harvey Dent's not even in the movie. I'm confused. Believe in Harvey Dent. That's from Dark Knight. So I'm Steve's trying to be clever, and I'm an idiot. Do I believe in Harvey Dent? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Anyway, no, look. It's obviously a very different Bruce Wayne Batman to what we've seen. Again, it's you know it's cliche to say, oh, what a fresh take, but it really kind of is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so far away from any other type we've seen because you think we've seen every type you can possibly see. You know, this is the most different. This is certainly the youngest, or the youngest feeling.
Yeah.
Because even angsty Christian Bale at the beginning of Batman Begins wasn't this heavy.
Yeah. No.
You know, this is kind of next level on that. But Pattinson, I think Pattinson looks the part. I actually do. My respect for Robert Pattinson has gone up leaps and bounds in like the last 4 years.
As a Twilight fan, I'm always like a proud mom of him and Kristen Stewart because the amount of shit people gave them for their acting in those movies and everything else. But loving those movies and loving the choice behind them and seeing kind of all the interviews and things they did, that obviously they were not inherently happy doing those movies, and then seeing what those movies allowed them to do in their careers and the paths that they took doing more independent and doing more things with interesting stories that they loved and killing it at those things. So
Yeah.
like seeing them in Twilight and people hating on them, and me seeing how good they were, you know, as actors, and being excited for them kind of having the careers they wanted beyond that. I'm always just so excited for them to do other things and to even get back into the mainstream sphere, because I know how much they kind of hated that kind of
Yeah.
spotlight. So to kind of see them really take the chance and see him take this chance at such a huge thing was really exciting for me, and obviously like showed me that he was really excited about the story as well, and he was definitely going to be a different Bruce Wayne / Batman than we'd ever seen, because for him to get back into a mainstream realm, I saw that as kind of a big deal. Also the fact that like he was supposed to get into shape for Twilight and he did not do that, but he got into shape for this movie, which shows how much he cared.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I mean, look, I know Pattinson's kind of a weird guy, just in normal life.
Well, Matt Reeves actually said that he wanted Robert Pattinson for this role because he was writing it while watching Good Time. So his Good Time performance is what got him to want Pattinson for Batman. Like, you think that's weird, but after seeing the movie, it kind of makes sense.
It tells you entirely the tone that they're going for, and the tone that they succeeded in portraying, really, certainly with Pattinson as Batman. He's a very difficult Batman to like, but he's a really easy Batman to appreciate.
Yeah,
because you don't like, it's not like, oh, Batman, you're nice. It's way easier to like Christian Bale's Batman. I mean, for God's sake, it's way easier to like Michael Keaton
yes,
as Batman. Michael Keaton's Batman, I'm talking characters here, because I frankly love Robert Pattinson as Batman, but he's quite an unlikable Batman for the majority of this movie. I mean, the character of Batman is quite unlikable for the majority of this movie. He's just a kind of angry,
well, angsty, yeah. Like,
yeah, I'm struggling to find the words, but he's just very. I don't want to keep saying he's unlikable, because people are going to start thinking I didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman, and the point is I did, because he wasn't likable as the character, because it was different, and because he was able to show that so well. I love the portrayal.
You're not quickly on his side. You have to kind of grow to figure out, like, you're growing with him, because he's still trying to figure out the best method of being Batman.
Exactly. And
you feel that. So you're kind of like off put slightly, because you can tell that he is not really confident in the path that he's taking with what he's doing specifically as Batman. You can tell he's still trying to figure it out. And so you're not like as confident in him as you are in these other seasoned Batmans.
Exactly.
But then when you step back and be like, okay, this is year 2, he's still figuring it out. And so portraying it like that and playing it like that is kind of interesting. But at first you're kind of like, I don't know if I can get behind what he's doing, because this doesn't feel like the Batman I know. But when you kind of step back and see that these are kind of different things he's trying out, you can kind of be like, okay, I get that.
Exactly. And the that journey is just felt throughout this movie.
Yeah.
I think because it's it's a nearly 3-hour movie, and I say this again. This is a fairly prevalent opinion of mine these days. Movies should be 90 minutes or 3 hours. I'm not having 2-hour 15-minute movies anymore. Because it's just the 2-hour 15-minute movies bore me. Like, the movies themselves might be good, but you just know the structure of them.
Yeah.
And the structure of a 90-minute movie can be anything, and the structure of a 3-hour movie can be anything. But the 2-hour 15-minute movies, you know exactly the damn beats you're gonna get after exactly the same amount of time.
You feel like
And it
maybe something's missing because they obviously wanted to do more, but they didn't want it to be 3
exactly,
hours. You feel
exactly.
that, yeah.
Make movies 90 minutes or 3
Yeah,
hours.
90 minutes, it feels tight.
3
That,
hours,
like
it feels epic.
yeah, and in between, you feel like they wanted to put more in here. I could feel that.
It's like when comedy movies are an hour and 50 minutes. Why? Why
Yeah.
are you an hour and 50 minutes comedy movie? What story are you
What
trying to
deep
tell that
moments are
takes
you
an hour
trying?
and 50 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
But
know.
yes, I loved the setup as well of, um seeing like the different set, like that he can be everywhere at once, but just the idea of him is scary enough, and like seeing these criminals like just look into this shadow and he's not there, he's not even there, but just like the fear. So I like that he's at least set up that kind of presence for himself
Yeah,
in that 2 year span. So
yeah.
that even just like, and then like and us as watching, we're like, okay, well, is he in these shadows? No. Is he in these shadows? No. And then he finally, when he's revealed, it's great. So I love that setup of that, he was able to kind of set that fear in people because that's a huge part of the character as well.
A lot of that is down to the real quality of how this movie's actually made, though. I mean, for God's sake, is it meticulous in how it's made, or it feels it. It
Yeah.
feels so detailed. And that's not, it's not messy. It just feels really precise.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. I think, Mr. Mustache Matt Reeves, it should be commended for how he's, the time and the level of care I think he gave to this movie. But Janine, let's move on
Okay.
to talk about the Catwoman. Again, hi Zoe Kravitz. Yes, basically, is all I have to say. I like this style of Catwoman, regardless of whether it's Zoe Kravitz or not. This kind of seedy, kind of damaged. I mean, you don't like people being damaged, but it kind of works for the character who becomes a thief, not because they like thieving, but because they're trying to get revenge on someone. And it's what
And it's like they're
makes
good.
for me,
Yeah.
sorry, it's what makes for me the Batman Catwoman relationship, and I mean as a romantic relationship, one that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Because they feel very, very similar. Or I at least prefer them when they are very similar types of people,
Yes.
revenge fueled, you know, doing things because of personal reasons, not because,
Wanting to stop the bad
wanting
people,
to stop
but
the bad
the
people
re-
by
but the
sometimes
reasons,
doing bad things themselves,
yeah,
you know?
operating
And
definitely outside of the the law. And
when they have, in this movie, when Zoe Kravitz is giving the perfect, I'm the one in charge here, Batman. I'm going to, there's been all sorts of stupid memes and things go around. And I've seen one that was basically, here is a summary of the entire movie of the Batman. And it's just a picture, a hand-drawn childish picture of Batman and Catwoman. And Catwoman is just kind of over his shoulder, just whispering in his ear, just going, "You're an idiot." And that's and that's the tone of the entire movie. And that's what it feels like. It's just Selina Kyle going, "No, we're not doing it that way, Bruce. This is the right way." And him
but
going, "Are you
also,
sure?" And
yeah,
she just like, "Yes, I'm sure. Would you just trust me? You're annoying me now. Stop it, Bruce." He's like,
but
"Well,
also,
you're annoying me as well." And then they kiss, and it's perfect. I love it.
but also, it's like you're dumb for thinking you can fix the city. Like you're dumb for
Yeah,
even
exactly.
going on this
You're an
whole
idiot.
crusade. Like I respect what you're trying to do here, dude, but it's not gonna happen.
It's not going to
Like
work.
stop trying to make fetch happen, Batman, because it's not gonna happen.
Marie
Like
Marie, a perfect Catwoman. Yes. I really do think it was. And look, I am obviously a huge fan of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, but she's a totally different style of Catwoman.
Yes, I feel like this felt very much of the comic book style, the short hair, like the look
Yeah.
of her and the confidence in her, and like the fact that, yeah, she's just, a lost child of Gotham who is now kind of trying to stick it to the corrupt world of the,
So
you
driven.
know, yes,
So
she
driven.
yes, she's just kind of doing her own thing on her terms because she needs to have kind of control of something because she's kind of been lost in what this terrible place is. So she
Yeah.
needs to kind of forge her own path. So I like that version of Catwoman. It felt very much of the comic book style and the
The
look and
boots, Steve
everything.
said. Yeah, the look
Yes.
is just absolutely
And
spot on.
also very grounded, very,
Yeah.
you know, like a Nolan, just very kind of realistic, like, not
But
as
then,
fantastical as the Burton.
I mean, we have got a piece on a category of comparing them for slightly later on. Batman
Yeah.
movies. I mean,
Mhm.
but in terms of look, Christopher Nolan did Catwoman, and it was lackluster.
Yeah.
It was the same style of Catwoman as this movie.
Yeah, just like a disgruntled child of Gotham
It was
who's just
just
out for herself.
nowhere near as competently done all
And the
round, really,
chemistry
as
and the
this.
chemistry was definitely loads better, I think,
Which it's
with the
strange, really.
Batman.
It's strange, really, to me, because Catwoman is such a realistic Batman villain. Arguably, she's literally a thief.
Yeah.
Pretty realistic, It's not a clown in makeup or a guy with half of his face burnt by acid or anything like, or a guy who wears question marks. And the fact that Nolan's version of Catwoman was far worse than his version of Ra's al Ghul or Scarecrow, even as much as kind of small as Scarecrow unfortunately was, I think, in Batman Begins, but it's still a good portrayal
Yeah.
and a well, told story around him. These more fantastical villains, and he didn't do Catwoman very well, and this movie just absolutely, for me, perfected Catwoman on screen.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Catwoman. Like I have Catwoman solo comics. I love I've always loved the relationship between the two of them anyway.
Yeah.
I really like, Selena Kyle as a character, and helped, of course, by the fact that I have some sort of attraction towards Zoe Kravitz. Sure.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
that's not the
That only plays a
point.
small part, but
That's not the
but yeah,
point.
no, their chemistry was really great. Her, working together with him, I thought the team up was really solid. But then also her kind of like, I told you what I was in this for. I'm trying to figure out what happened to my friend. Like I'm gonna go my own path, and but still having this bit of loyalty to Batman. And yeah, they just kind of had very on fire electric chemistry right off the bat. So I didn't think it was something you had to build to.
No.
Um,
Sorry, Christina's just come in the chat with some horrendous news, and it is in fact true. William Hurt has passed away.
oh my god,
That is most sad.
that is very sad.
Yeah, I've
MCU
got
staple.
it. 71 years
Oh,
old. William Hurt.
what a bummer.
Well, that is, yes, that's not nice. Well, I mean, it's tough to know what to say about it. I appreciate you letting us
Yeah,
know that news, Christina. But William Hurt's everybody liked William Hurt. William Hurt was great.
yeah.
That is
That's a
that's a big
bummer.
shame. That is a big shame. So, well, rest in peace, William Hurt. I think it
Yes.
needs to be said there. That is very, very sad. Didn't play Catwoman though, did he? That was insane.
No, he did not.
Sorry, William Hurt. I don't know. You had a great mustache as well.
He did. He had a solid mustache.
You probably still do. No, stop talking.
Oh, well, yes, that is really tough because he was great. Great in the MCU films, great in other films. And
The Village.
Yeah.
I like
Yes.
The Village.
Yes.
I like William Hurt in The Village. Stop laughing at me, Tina, please. Thank you. We all like the Catwoman, it's fair to say.
Yes.
Let us move on then to the Riddler.
Okay. So yeah, like I did mention earlier, I did kind of like I felt like a twist on, a refresher of the Riddler fangirl aspect, which I don't know how deep that is in like comic books or anything like that. If that was actually a thing where the movie just took its own liberties, of him being obsessed with either Batman or Bruce Wayne in some capacity.
I've always viewed the Riddler quite simplistically.
Yeah.
To the point where he's literally just an egomaniac.
Who thinks he's smarter than everyone.
That literally cannot take no for an answer and just cannot fathom that he might ever lose.
Paul Dano was definitely doing his Paul Dano thing.
He was. I mean, he was really. It's again, it's such good casting, really. What does Dio Karen say in the chat here? I love the fact he was wearing the same glasses as Jim Carrey's Riddler in Batman Forever. Was he? Like the actual same glasses? That would be quite impressive.
Yeah, I don't think I
didn't know that.
But more to kind of the grounded point, I think it was interesting to go more of him kind of crazy serial killer, Zodiac kind of route.
Yes, and
as opposed to like goofy, like
Yeah, Steve says
green leotard man.
Steve says he did not like some of the Riddler stuff, and admittedly, I mean, look, I don't like to say I didn't like that. Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm being whiny, and I don't like that when I'm talking about movies. But what I will say is that a lot of the stuff with the Riddler in this movie did feel very unlike what is usual for the Riddler. But then having thought about that, didn't a lot of the stuff with the Batman actually feel quite unlike some of the stuff we know from Batman and Bruce Wayne? I suppose it did. So I certainly think the Riddler fits in this story. He fits in this world really well. I don't think you can have as
this
eccentric a Riddler
in a Schumacher or a Burton Batman movie.
No, for God's sake, no. But I don't think you can have this Riddler be more eccentric than he. I mean, when Paul Dano's out of the stupid mask thing, that to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really like the look.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't really like the look of that.
Like, it didn't have to be crazy green leotard, but yeah, I was not a fan of like the green kind of.
It's just it just felt like it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
Which is why I liked it when he was just Paul Dano.
Yeah.
Because it felt, I suppose it felt more like a person then. But I suppose, do you want that? But ultimately, I don't want. I'm being very blunt about it, and I don't like doing that. I'll just say it anyway because it's the easiest way of saying it. I don't want my Riddler to be essentially faceless.
Okay.
I want to know who he is because he's a person. He's a weirdo. Yes. But he's a person.
Yeah.
He's not random serial killer. This movie, Riddler, a lot of it was, who is this serial killer? Yes, I like the riddle clues. Yes, I like the little games. I love that. And the little cards. I'm into
But
it.
the
I'm into all
Zodiac
that.
route was a little too
Just
much.
the look, I mean, it worked. Look, the slightly annoying thing. I suppose it's not annoying. I'm being too harsh.
No, just say what you think.
The slightly annoying thing is that had the movie had its central villain be one of Batman's actual serial killer villains, it would have felt more correct
Yeah.
to me.
Because there are actually characters in Batman Rogues
There
that
are a good
fit that.
few characters who are just pure serial killers.
Yeah.
Like, they have their own little details with them. But the Riddler's so much more than a killer. The Riddler, really, I've never viewed the Riddler as actually a killer. He's almost... This Riddler was a butcher. He was
Yeah,
he was
they
brutal,
made
he was
him
horrible.
this John Doe from Seven
Yeah.
Zodiac killer type character.
And
And so
look,
while I can appreciate like the kind of reboot of the character,
yeah,
them trying to do something different with the character, I can appreciate that they're making a character that fits in this world with by using a character that we are familiar with. I appreciated that, but yeah, I don't know that I fully got behind characterizing him as this kind of John Doe type of Seven killer, you know?
I just love this chat from Tina again. The Riddler's creepy glowing eyes with him standing behind the mayor in the first scene made me go out loud. So yeah, that's about right. I mean, look, the staging of the scenes with Riddler's kills are really good. Riddler's crime scenes are really good. The actual story of finding out who's committing these crimes, why are they committing these crimes, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
It's just, I suppose it's just not what I'm used to seeing from the Riddler. I'm used to seeing, and the fact I'm not, being entirely negative about this, not that I like doing that anyway, as we all know, but is because in the latter part of the movie, we actually did get what I view as the Riddler.
Yeah.
Which was when he was out of the suit. Right when he was captured. He was captured. That felt very Riddler. He left a little question mark in the latte or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then all the prison stuff felt so Riddler. Oh, was he so insecure in that prison scene?
Yeah.
He was so deeply insecure and just refusing to acknowledge that he hadn't actually
Done anything
succeeded
wrong.
properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that feels, because the Riddler's petty. There's no pettier Batman villain than Riddler.
Yeah, because he thinks he's a genius. So when his amazing plan does not go the way that he wants it to, he can't stand it.
Look, I mean, Dio Karen's not wrong here. He says perhaps this is just Batman, being Batman's earlier years, and Riddler will eventually create himself a more traditional-looking Riddler outfit with perhaps what's to come. Now, I'd be interested there. I don't think this version of the Riddler's ever getting out of Arkham, to be perfectly
Well, I
honest,
don't know.
unless
He's
there's
made
an
a new
escape.
friend.
He's made a new friend. And shouldn't we all be friends with Barry Keoghan? But we'll get onto that if you want to get onto that at some point as well, because I have thoughts about that.
Okay.
But I it's a funny one because I actually like everything that was going on with Riddler. There was just times when I feel like it shouldn't have been the Riddler. It should have been somebody else.
Okay.
But it was consistent. It still felt consistent. And yeah, I mean, I didn't really like the look the outfit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is a
I was
shame.
not a fan
Which
either.
is a shame because ultimately, I really did like this movie. I mean, for God's sake, did I like this movie? But it's yeah, I think as far as the main three notable Batman villains go, or four if you count Carmine Falcone, but he was the central villain. He just certainly felt the least like his most known, his most
Counterpart.
known aspect.
Yeah.
Which, look, it's not like they weren't consistent with it though, because they picked a decision for him and they stuck with that decision for him. So you can't fault it. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. It's literally personal preference.
Yeah.
So it's not a negative. It's just an opinion. So do you? I assume you feel exactly the same kind of way. I apologize for going off on a little bit of
No, I do agree.
situation.
Like I said, I do appreciate that they tried to kind of reboot the character in this way and do something interesting with him that felt like it fit in this world that they've created. But I did miss kind of the simplicity of him just kind of wanting to be the smartest guy in the room and his brain kind of being his weapon as opposed to being like a massive killer, you know?
Yeah.
And definitely, not a fan of the look either.
And Steve says a few things here. He says, I'd love it if Bruce's mother was trapped in Arkham and not dead. I mean, that'd be a weird, it'd be an unusual way of going about it, but look, I mean, they are changing up some things, so why not go as far as to change up something like that? I mean,
yeah, the fact that she's in Arkham.
That would annoy people, though, wouldn't it? I
An
mean, could you
Arkham in
imagine
Arkham?
what people... Oh, God, Martha Wayne's not dead. Where are the pearls? That's why there's no pearls in the movie. Janine, there was not a single pearl in the movie.
Not a pearl, not a kiss from a rose on a grave.
Well, there wasn't a kiss from a rose on a grave in the damn Batman Forever either. It just happens to be the movie song. It's just not actually in the movie.
Yes.
Stupid kiss.
No roses, no pearls, no popcorn.
No mention whatsoever.
Nothing falling in slow-mo.
No mention whatsoever. Well, there was mention, but no scene showing whatsoever anybody's parents dying. Well, that's actually not true, as the Riddler did murder several people's parents. But let's move on. Janine, to the Penguin. We've already spoken a little bit about the Penguin. I think it is fair to say Colin Farrell absolutely.
And I was finding myself trying. I was like, I'm trying to see him in this. I'm trying to see Colin in that face. I was trying really hard, and I could not see Colin in that face.
It's so good. It is. He was so good as this Penguin. And look, do I personally prefer my Penguin to be British instead of from New York? Sure. I do tend to prefer my Penguin to be all like, hey, well, what are you doing there, Batman, and all that business.
Because in the game, he's like that, right?
In the game, he's very much like that. It's like absurdly Cockney.
Yes. And in the animated series, he's very proper and like
he's very
monocle.
Yeah. And look, but I think I because I've seen more variations of Penguin than maybe I have of Riddler, I'm just open to different styles of Penguin, and it just fit. Ultimately, all he needs to be is a mobster.
Yeah.
A slightly heavier set mobster with a weird looking face. And you're fine. You're sorted there. We all love Danny DeVito as Penguin, but that's the wildly different version of Penguin.
Yes. That was
not
very
this.
sloppy. And no, this is definitely more of what, business mogul, kind of gruff, but still some sophistication there.
I'm loving Tina's chats today. No pearls, but we got reusable digital eye contacts that freak me out. Yeah, they were a bit weird, them. I don't know what was... That was a very unique piece of technology, I must say, from Batman.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've come across that before. But no, look, Colin Farrell absolutely nailed this.
Yes,
I mean, he
totally
was
lost himself in
funny.
this.
He
Yeah.
brought so much. Again, the movie is quite funny, and it almost makes you appreciate it more. The fact that it looks so dark and nasty, and there's not going to be a shred of light in this movie. And
He
actually,
even
there's some
he even
really
waddled.
stupid scenes. He did. He
He waddled
waddled.
like a penguin.
He's one step away from having Danny DeVito's flipper hands and his French
Yes.
flipper trick,
Oh goodness.
and going all down himself, wearing
No, it's
wearing
a
long
lot.
underwear.
Yeah, his dirty,
That's what I want to see.
his dirty long underwear. Oh,
I want
that
to see
dirty
Colin
onesie.
Colin
I
Farrell
do
in
not
all
want
his
to see.
prosthetics, wearing long underwear.
I
That's
do not want to see
filthy.
Colin Farrell in that dirty onesie. No, thank you.
It's look, you can't compare the two of them. It would be like comparing the two versions of Riddler we've had in major feature. Well,
Yeah, it's definitely.
I say this, we forget about the 60s movie, Janine. We forget about the 60s movie. They're also
Yes.
both in that.
Yes.
And Burgess Meredith is,
Meredith.
again, kind of wildly different to both other versions of Penguin as well
Yes.
that you've had. But I have no issue with Penguin whatsoever.
No,
This is
great.
a really nailed-on portrayal of Penguin for this tone of movie, for this
Yeah, he
tone
fits
of
in this
Gotham.
universe, and he also feels like very comic accurate in a lot of ways. So definite redemption for the character of Bullseye. Colin Farrell's first Marvel villain.
Yeah. The fair point, Janine.
His first comic book villain portrayal. So definite redemption here. With,
Only because you don't
go
into
the DC.
But
I was trying really hard to find him, and I could not find him in that face.
Good makeup, very, very good makeup.
Yes.
Unbelievable makeup. And yeah, he's getting his own TV show now, isn't he?
Yes. So like it's open for him to rise up now. So
yes, Marie's brought it up there. The car chase with Penguin is so good.
Yes.
It's an unbelievable action scene. I am excited.
Like him kind of playing up the comedy of that. And just with that scene in general, like I had recently watched Bullet, and like all that kind of close up in car chases.
Yeah.
It definitely felt that.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned to me, there was
like
a lot of things
movie.
Yes. So definitely got that feel. And there were a lot of kind of moments like that. Like I saw somebody make a comparison to the Riddler kind of watching the mayor's house at the beginning, and that whole thing feeling a little bit like the opening of Halloween, where you just kind of hear the breathing and see it through the eyes. And then all the rain, I've seen comparisons to Seven, because I know David Fincher specifically wanted anytime you're outside, I want it to be raining and just show how dire and terrible and bleak this world is.
I mean, there's been an awful lot of comparisons to many 70s movies. You Chinatown and French Connection, Clute, and all kinds of things. There's been,
and even in that car chase scene, you were telling me something about like how it felt like a very Western when he's walking up and you just hear the clanging kind of like spurs almost, and like the cape, like his poncho, and like walking up to the Penguin as his car's flipped over, and just the spurs, and all you see is his feet kind of coming into the scene. Felt very much like a Western. So many cool inspirations that you never would think you'd see, or pick up on in a Batman movie.
No.
So some definitely cool themes that they worked with to incorporate to build this world. And yes, that car chase, definitely gave me some Bullet vibes. Like you felt like you were in the car. And even stuff that was happening with the score, like you'd hear the big tones, and then in the middle you'd hear like all this percussion stuff. All that jazzy percussion felt like the animated series, because that score of the series was very jazzy and a lot of percussion and stuff like that. So
I mean, I do genuinely think, I mean, look, that's harsh to say, actually. That's tough to say. But I've not actually said it, and I'm already backtracking on myself. But Danny Elfman's Batman theme is obviously arguably the best superhero theme, really, isn't it? I mean, you literally have that Superman. Does anything come close to those two? There's other good ones, there's other great ones. You know, even the Avengers theme, I don't think comes as close as those two. Danny Elfman's Spider-Man theme's great, but I don't think it comes as close as those two. I think, you know, Michael Giacchino's Batman theme is gonna be in that realm of a Danny Elfman Spider-Man, an Avengers theme, a Wonder Woman theme that people seem to forget about now. That theme's great.
So good. Love that theme. Like all you have to say to me is Wonder Woman and I can hear it in my head. That's a good testament to your score. That like if all you have to say is that movie, like I honestly can't really remember any specifics or like theme things from like the Schumacher Batman movies. I can remember like I can inherently of course remember Burton's stuff, you know, Elfman stuff like you said. Iconic.
Because it's brought into the animated series as well. And it is but that I think that theme fits for those movies and that animated series, because the Burton movies and the animated series are quite like pacey things, aren't they? They're quite tension building kind of and you're just getting really into it and you're just going like this all the time. This is a much slower theme for a much slower movie. And a much more deliberate movie that requires just heavy drums, a few big horns every now and again, and then just a lot of weird stuff happening in between. But you just get, it's a pounding kind of boom theme, rather than one that kind of ramps up and ramps up and ramps up. It's just incessant and repetitive, and non-stop, and you feel like it's not going to end. You feel like Danny Elfman Batman theme has an end to it. It has a beginning to it. Has an end
something.
To it.
It's going to build to something epic. But this one is like you're just stuck in this
moment,
and you're going to just keep pushing through this moment. It's not changing. It's not getting any better, but you're going to keep going. You know, and that's kind of what this Batman is doing. Like everyone's telling him he's an idiot for even trying to like do anything for Gotham.
Yeah, and it is.
But he's just going to keep going, relentless. Yeah.
So that works. That works really well as well. But I think that's all we have to say about the Penguin, at least, anyway, is that it's fairly easy to talk about him when he's just great. I also now have. We'll talk about the Jim Gordon.
The Jim Gordon. Okay.
The Jim Gordon. It's the Batman, it's the Catwoman, the Riddler, the Penguin, and the Jim Gordon. I apologize to Sirius Black, but Jeffrey Wright's just steamed you out the water. That's not even a saying, but you know what I mean.
Yes, he blew you out of the water.
Steamed you out of the water like he's doing vegetables.
Are you cooking vegetables?
He's lightly steamed them. You're saying, I'm not going to boil you, Gary. I'm just going to steam you today.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Get that flavor.
We've already spoken about the relationship between the two of them. It's absolutely perfect.
Yes.
It is the most involved Jim Gordon's ever been. Gary Oldman was great as Jim Gordon. He was. But Jeffrey Wright feels like he can actually do some things.
Yes, and he's actually very active, and they work really well together, and they feel like a team in a lot of aspects.
Dio Karen says it is the best chemistry between Batman and Gordon on film, and it is.
Yes.
That is just a straight up fact. Stupid ass Pat Hingle.
It was useless. He was like the 60s one where he was just like, Batman, handle this. I'm incompetent.
The 60s one is better than Pat Hingle because at least he's actually has a relationship with Batman to a degree. Pat Hingle's just like, oh, I'm incompetent. He's not even fit to kiss Jeffrey Wright's barefoot.
Oh no.
I mean, it helps that everybody likes Jeffrey Wright anyway.
Yeah.
And he has the voice, and he's doing a little bit of the voices. He's doing a little bit of Jeffrey Wright voice. He's just like, oh, Batman.
Tina,
What are you doing?
With your steaming comments.
Steaming keeps in more nutrients than boiling. We don't want to keep the nutrients in Gary Oldman. Maybe you want to keep the nutrients. I'm not talking about what you may or may not want to do with Gary Oldman, Christina. Jeffrey Wright, though, I can acknowledge. But Jeffrey Wright's also about 20 years younger than Gary Oldman, but still.
And he just goes hard for Batman. Like, he definitely has his back. He supports him. The fact that he brings him to this crime scene, he knows he's gonna catch shit for that, but he does it anyway.
Because it's the right thing to do.
He knows that he can help. And so I like the building of their relationship that is kind of set up that there's this trust here. And even there's a moment he's like, the only person I trust is you. Like, he actually says that. So
the amount of times he's just like, come on, man, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Because that's how Jeffrey Wright talks, of course, isn't it? Right now, we're gonna play a game, and you're gonna have to punch me in the face and then run out this back door. Smack.
Yes.
Run away.
Yes. So yeah,
you didn't have to hit me so hard, Batman.
He's like, I didn't. He's like, you could have pulled that punch. He's like, I didn't.
I am the Watcher. He is the Watcher, but he's also Jim Gordon.
By keeping the nutrients inside the carrier.
Oh my God. Gary Oldman probably has a lot of nutrients within him.
Yes.
I mean, look at how he was able to grow his hair for Sirius Black.
And he survived that gunshot. So, yeah.
Yes, that's true. But, unbelievable Jim Gordon. I mean, my favorite Jim Gordon.
Yes, and early Jim Gordon really kind of standing up to the corruption, like feeling alone in this, but, having 100% belief in Batman, working well with him, the trust they had, like all of that really just portraying an early Jim Gordon well to really kind of already set him up to being fully aware, not just like an idiot, not realizing about a ton, like the corruption going on. Like, he is aware and he is doing what he can do in his little box of justice.
And he keeps the mustache, which is an important part of aspect. Gordon.
Yes.
Perfect for Jim Gordon. That's nice. We will now talk then about the Alfred.
Okay. The Alfred. I mean, I don't think Andy Serkis got much to do. I wish they would have given him
I was expecting a little bit more.
But what he was doing made me want more. So
certainly, yeah.
That's all he could do with the time he had, then good job, sir.
It's also fairly young Alfred.
Yes.
Really. It seems quite an active Alfred. Seems like Alfred could, one of those Alfreds that you see every now and again in comics or whatever it may be, that actually kind of picks up a weapon and starts fighting himself.
Yes. And the fact that he he gets kind of bitched out by Bruce.
He does.
I don't want to do this. Leave me alone. You're not my dad. And he still is just like, so he's like,
I'm just gonna go and have to do this myself.
Sighs. Yeah, so he just sighs and gets to work helping him figure out these encryptions and just jumping into the work.
And it is nice to see Andy Serkis actually be Andy Serkis in a movie, isn't it? It's always nice to see that. Yeah. And it's, he's using a fairly natural Andy Serkis voice. I think it's a little bit more gruff than Andy Serkis's actual voice.
Yes. But we see him very active in helping helping Bruce figure things out and asking
Yeah.
questions and doing a bit of detective work on his end to help however he can. So I like that we see him be very competent. He's not just serving him, vichyssoise and things.
And as much as we like Michael Caine,
Michael
Michael Caine as Alfred is there for emotional reasons.
Yes.
And he's very good at that. I mean, he's very good at doing that, Michael Caine, in those Nolan movies. He's really good at bringing the emotion,
And they do allude to
the
him.
wisdom.
Yeah.
They do allude to him having
Him
a
being an
fighting
adventurous
past,
kind of
yes.
fighting past. Yes.
Here is an Alfred that we could actually see do that. Here is an Alfred that...
Can you picture Michael Gough doing anything?
No. Michael Caine would keel over backwards if he tried doing that, even 10 years ago, when he was Batman, when he was Alfred.
Yeah.
The last time. I mean, that was 10 years ago. Michael Caine, he's an old man now. He's not even like he was an old man then. He's an old man now.
Yes, but no, I'm talking about like Michael Gough. Like I don't think you
Michael
could picture
Gough.
him.
No,
yeah,
God.
you couldn't even picture him being any kind of early time. Like they didn't really allude to him.
No, Michael Gough he's a butler.
Yeah, he literally was not
for
emotional support as well.
He's there for emotional support. He is,
but also like we see him straight up just serving him all the time, and then like so he's not really contributing much to.
There's just less of a character there.
Yes.
Than there is with Michael Caine, than there is with Andy Serkis.
So even the little bit we do get of him, we're seeing him be active, and
I think we probably
participating in helping, and I like.
I'm trying to remember if we probably do get more of Jeremy Irons, don't we? Really, because he has 2 movies. That he's in. I mean, I didn't mind Jeremy Irons. He felt very like Andy Serkis level of kind
he
of
was actually like helping out, and he was getting on the computer, and he was the man in the chair. Like
I did quite like
Alfred
Jeremy
felt
Irons.
like man in the chair, like the animated Alfred felt man in the chair. This Alfred felt man in the chair, but not as much because he wasn't really like helping Batman while he was out doing things.
Well, no, but we've not got on to a stage of Batman wanting any help yet, have we really? But
no, but like I like that even though Bruce is dismissive of him, he still knows that he can help him, and I can't talk to you verbally about what I feel like you need to do because you're not going to listen to me right now, so I'm just going to jump into action and do and if this is the thing you're going to put all your energies into, god damn it, then I'm just going to shut up because you won't listen to me and help you with this thing that you're putting all your energies into.
Yeah.
And I like that attitude of the Alfred, that he's going to support him regardless if he thinks like he should be doing something else,
And we've spoken about it as well, that particularly emotional scene in the hospital.
Yes.
Is really well acted, really well done. That is the change in Bruce, that scene. Because he realizes that you're not my dad. He's actually, well, I'm the best you've got, dude.
Yes.
I'm doing my best. I'm the best you've got. And Bruce doesn't say it, but he kind of does realize it. He goes, yeah, you're right. And that's the change. That's the change in him. Your dad was a good man.
So don't
did
let
one
anyone
bad
make you
thing.
Yeah, don't let that, sully the whole kind of image you had of him.
And don't and basically stop taking it out on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to help Bruce, you idiot. Bruce is an idiot throughout this entire movie, and everybody kind of tells him he is, and
and that's just growing
around
pains.
about it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get more from Alfred in the movies that come later, aren't we? I mean, it was. I'll say this as well. Another refreshing element of it was that it felt so refreshing to actually go in to watch a superhero movie, comic book movie, where I didn't have to worry about what was coming before, and I didn't feel like I had to worry about what was coming after.
Yeah.
I could watch it literally beginning and end. I don't need more movies from this. This is fine. This is
cracking me up. I'm sorry.
I like the fact that we are supposedly getting more movies. We're now certainly getting, a Penguin TV show, but I like the fact that we are supposedly getting new movies because I like this world of Gotham and these versions of these characters. Going into watching the movie, though, I didn't know this. I was literally treating this as a one movie. And here's your movie. Nothing's come before it that I have to worry about where it is in context. In context. And nothing's going to come after it. Now, something is going to come after it, but you go in watching it with that mindset. And it felt so refreshing because I didn't have to worry about, oh, so when's this set? Is it in between the 17th Avengers movie and the TV show? Or as much as I like the MCU, it's gotten a little bit where the hell is everything set now?
Yeah.
I need to be spoon-fed the MCU.
Yeah.
At this point, I really need detail. Literally give me a date. Tell me when this movie is set at the beginning of your movie.
Yeah.
Please. To help my mind realize when this is supposed to be. Because you go back and forth and then forward a
and
little
bounce
and
through
back
time.
And
now we're dealing with time continuums
and TV and movies, and it's just non-linear at this
time
point.
Warps and crazy things. Yeah.
As much as I do obviously like it.
Yeah.
And I do obviously like it.
So it was kind of a relaxing thing to just walk into something and not really think about the beginning or the end of it.
It really was. It really was. And that was a big element to why I came out of this movie as positive as I think I did. Christina's ridiculous comments and
yes.
I do have a little. What did she say? I fell asleep during the movie a few times. Did I miss another angsty scene with Bruce telling Alfred, "That's why you shouldn't open my mail"?
I mean, that scene could have happened because
it could have. Do you know what? It
look
very
what
easily
happens
could have.
when
I
you
actually
open
think.
My mail.
Do you know what? I actually think at one point Alfred does open a letter addressed to Bruce.
Yes, and he blows
from the Riddler.
Yes.
I think that actually does happen.
Sets a whole portion of the house, including himself, on fire. That's how he ends up in the hospital.
He's an idiot. Everybody's an idiot.
So wouldn't that have been the first thing that Bruce tells him in the hospital? That's why.
Alfred, you're an idiot. Don't open my mail. Oh dear. Other few categories we do have. We have the Carmine Falcone.
Why did you put it? Oh, because the Batman.
Because it's the Batman.
Yes, I got that.
The Carmine Falcone. I actually really liked this Carmine Falcone as John Turturro. Yes. I thought he was really seedy and really intimidating and really good as a mob boss. I liked this.
And he didn't have to be shouty and loud like Tom Wilkinson. The fact that he's so chill is very unnerving. Is more unnerving than being very loud and shouty,
And yes, okay, he's dead now, which is almost a shame, really, because he's a significant figure in the Gotham crime world. But then we're gonna, you presume these movies are going to be quite Bruce personal, rather than, this was probably the biggest Gotham movie you're going to get.
Yeah.
Well, who's to say? But I really did like John Turturro as Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, I thought he was really great. Definitely, he was just very smooth, and even the moments, like, I kind of appreciated that he still kind of thought back on what Thomas Wayne did for him.
Yeah.
With true emotion and feeling and respect. And you wouldn't expect him to really be that honorable, to have respect for a good man just in general. as like a, cartoonish surface level mob boss character. Yes, there's loyalty involved with kind of that whole mob tier
Yeah.
system, but you never would really see, somebody who is kind of that surface level character really have any deeper feeling for an honorable man and have that respect for him. Um,
But I
so the
think,
fact that he talks about that moment with Thomas and really that he has so much respect for him, I think a general mob boss type character would think a good man like Thomas Wayne is an idiot.
yeah, and I think he personifies in this movie what the movie does really well. The character of Carmine Falcone, which is it takes two-dimensional Batman villains and makes them three-dimensional. Or two-dimensional Batman characters. Because even Alfred, he's a butler, he helps. But he's more than that in this movie. Carmine Falcone, he's a mob boss. He organises crime. But he's more than just that.
Yeah.
In this movie. Even all the villains, the villains, I suppose Penguin's relatively simplistic, but we're going to get more with him anyway. Riddler's certainly way more than we're used to seeing from Riddler, for positive or negative. Catwoman's kind of nailed on, yes, but there's even more emotion going on with there than kind of usual.
Yeah.
It's kind of more big picture. This is a personal story for Catwoman as well.
Yeah.
It's usually more, oh, Gotham's ruined, I have to take down the evil. I'm Catwoman, so I'm going to steal a diamond. He's like, no, Carmine Falcone's secretly my dad.
Yeah, so that's where I sit in this whole kind of mess of everything.
But I really like John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. I thought we got a good deal of him.
Yeah.
A really good... that funeral as well for the mayor, that's such a kind of intense whole scene. I know we've not really talked about this scene by scene, but that one Riddler setup with that, I think it's the DA at that point, isn't it? Who gets, that bomb strapped to his neck. It's such a perfect Batman kind of. I mean, that felt very Riddler, because you. What I liked about that was it wasn't Riddler killing him. It was him killing himself.
Because
of what Riddler had done.
Yes, and because of what he is not willing to reveal.
Exactly. I like that.
Because of his
Riddler doing
seedy history and
Riddler...
make Riddler's point of the lies and the corruption.
Riddler doing that is perfect. Riddler essentially being Jigsaw from Saw with a bit more insecurity.
Yes, and the fact that he's like live streaming it as well, kind of bringing that modern element into it, and having that audience to kind of showcase his brilliance, because that's what that character needs. Yeah.
Such a good scene. I do have a little category on the other characters, for example, the new mayor or the dodgy police commissioner before Gordon eventually ends up with it. Somebody, not that he's got it in this movie, but do we have any thoughts on any of the other characters? I mean, the new mayor seems kind of hopeful, but then we know what having hope in Gotham gets you.
Yes, so definitely I liked having a character that is like, who has that same belief in Gotham being able to kind of rise up. We need characters like that in like this kind of hopeless place. So I liked having her kind of be there to give Batman that insight of somebody who's willing to kind of fight for the greater good of Gotham. And I think that people like that are gonna inspire him to course correct again in his Batmaning and figure out the best way to play this role in Gotham. So I liked having a character like that. who definitely could show him those things while he's still kind of trying to figure out what he's doing.
I mean, I suppose out of semi-major characters, she's the only other one we haven't actually talked about. There's kind
Yeah.
of not really anybody else, is there?
Yeah.
Who's in it? I mean, what the twins on the door of the Iceberg Lounge? Do they count?
Was yes, like which all I could think was I used to watch the show Desperate Housewives, and they were Felicity Huffman's like bratty twin children in that show.
Who
So
else? Who else? I mean, Catwoman's girlfriend. Does she?
Annika,
She's not
no,
really a
she's just there to
character, is
kind of
she? She.
no. She's just kind of there to further the plot along.
Well, I know we have talked about a lot the tone of Gotham, but I also have the Gotham as a category.
The Gotham, yeah.
The Gotham. So, I mean, I can summarize my thoughts on this version of Gotham is that it is absolutely the most perfect amalgamation of the hyper realistic Christopher Nolan Gotham and the over the top cartoonishness of Burton's Gotham.
Yes, definitely a great kind of marrying of the two concepts. Like, you know, it had its own Times Square and its own kind of
Yeah.
versions of things in the real world.
What was it?
Um,
Gotham Square Garden
yes,
that
and I
literally
think
looked exactly like Madison Square
and I think they
Garden.
had like an Empire State Building, but it was like Gotham something. You know, they had a Gotham Holiday Inn. Like, yeah, it was definitely Bank of Gotham, but it looked
Yeah,
like Bank of America.
it's that sort of stuff. It's what you want because it makes it feel deeply fictional while grounding it in reality. I suppose it's unfortunate, really, but I mean, to say I've soured is perhaps a bit harsh, but I certainly don't view the Christopher Nolan Batman movies as favorably as I once did. And I think it
Yeah.
does have something to do with the fact that so they feel so mid 2000s in the fact that, oh, we have to make everything super real.
And grounded and yeah.
Like, no, you can have a little bit of fictional, a
Yeah,
little
because
bit of
look at what
fun.
your source material is, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, definitely a good marrying of the kind of fantastical
Look,
Tim Burton Gotham to like the Nolan realistic, and you kind of get this amalgamation where you still feel like you're in a comic book movie, but it feels a little more relatable. Like
exactly.
it feels real for the world that they're trying to bring you into, you know.
I mean, given the fact that a lot of it was actually filmed in Britain as well, makes I think it was like
Yeah.
Glasgow and Edinburgh and Liverpool and places like
Yeah.
that a lot of it was actually filmed in. So that's why it's raining all the time. I mean, it is also raining all the damn
Well,
time.
yeah, but Gotham, like you never really see Gotham in the daytime ever. So
Gotham's
it's always
sunny.
yeah,
There's some
yeah,
beautiful
no.
sunset shots though
Yeah,
in the movie. You know where the
yeah.
sky's like orange.
Mm-hmm.
I like those. But yeah, so it's raining all the damn time. As it should be. It's Gotham. Metropolis is the one where it's sunny.
Sunny all
Go
the
there.
time. Yeah.
That's where Superman is, being all like, "I'm Superman." Not that he
Yeah.
talks like that. Imagine if Henry Cavill turned around and started talking like that. Not that Henry
Yeah,
Cavill's
please
Superman
no.
anymore.
Well, while we are
Oh.
talking about Superman, let's just say a happy birthday to our good friend Billy Paulhan.
Well, that's a good point. Yes. Happy birthday, Billy. Happy birthday. I don't know why I'm applauding. Congratulations. You've
Congratulations.
succeeded in having a birthday. Everybody has them.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Billy.
So
Yes,
yeah,
that's
a huge Superman fan.
he
Billy
is.
Paulhan. So
I
happy
believe he
birthday,
is
Billy.
celebrating currently. So
Yes.
otherwise I'm like to believe he would have been here. But sure he'll have fun watching this later. If he so chooses. If he so chooses. But yes, the Gotham is basically the perfect mix of the hyper realistic and the more cartoonish to make
Yeah.
your tone fit in a world that suits it.
Yeah, definitely felt perfect for the
What
world that they created.
haven't we talked about? I suppose the comparison I have up, which is just the
Okay.
comparison, by the way. Yeah. Not just a comparison, it's the
Which we've
comparison.
done a few kind of already, like talking about the different Alfreds, which we did kind of just forgot about. Oh no, I
Which
think
we
we
have.
mentioned pretty much all of them. With the Jim Gordons, we completely didn't even talk about J.K. Simmons because he really didn't have much to do.
Oh god, I
But
forgot about J.K. Simmons.
right?
I completely forgot about J.K. Simmons. He actually did keep the mustache as well, didn't he?
He did. He did.
Oh,
He
I'd
was good.
completely forgot about J.K. Simmons. That's probably not a good thing, though, is it? That's probably
No.
mean he didn't do much as Gordon.
No, he didn't really have a lot to do. So
Hmm.
So yeah, I think we've pretty much successfully talked about our comparisons with the gyms, aside from J.K. Simmons. But like we could just say we didn't really remember him, so I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to compare. It's always tough to compare to compare Batmen, but I suppose it's even more tough to compare Pattinson to the rest of them because he's so unlike the rest of them
Yeah,
that he's totally a different style. We've done the Catwoman's, Riddler. You cannot compare because they're two completely different things. The Penguins we have compared. So I think the comparison has been done naturally throughout the conversation, which is probably
yes.
for the best, really.
I mean,
Sorry.
Batman. I don't know that we got deep into the Batmen, comparing them as much.
Oh well, if you want to compare the Batmen, let's compare the Batmen.
I mean, Keaton's always going to be my favorite, just because I liked how, because kind of how, like his Bruce Wayne. I just liked how kind of scatterbrained his Bruce Wayne was.
Yeah,
Uh, because he was kind of more focused on being Batman. So kind of being he wasn't good at being Bruce Wayne, and I liked that realism of him just not like more like how this one doesn't want anything to do with Bruce Wayne, doesn't want it at all. This Batman knows he has to be Bruce Wayne, but he's not good at it. So he's just very
yeah,
clumsy. And so I
yeah.
liked that portrayal of it.
Maybe that's what we'll get from a future Pattinson one, where he kind of has to realize that, okay, I now have to do, I now have
Be
to actually be
businessman,
Bruce Wayne,
womanizer.
but
Yeah.
I ain't good at it either.
Yeah.
So maybe it's going to be more similar to that. Um,
I think, if we're talking about Bruce's, I feel
I still
like
think Adam West is actually the best Bruce Wayne because he feels the fanciest. He feels like the most like a billionaire playboy.
I think Val Kilmer also did a pretty solid Bruce. Like
Really?
you saw him being good at business.
Couldn't kiss though, could he? What a stupid bottom lip that he's doing.
You saw him, being the rich guy and putting on that facade. You also saw him being noble as Bruce Wayne. Like at the circus when,
Yes.
Batman, come reveal yourself or I'm going to kill all these people, you hear him shouting, I am Batman, like trying to reveal himself because he knew that was going to save the day. Um,
Yes,
you
yes, but
know,
he wears a pair of
so
stupid glasses.
yes. So I think Val Kilmer did a serviceable job as Bruce Wayne in comparison to the other Bruce Waynes.
But the thing is, you're just forgetting the fact that Adam West is the only one who owns a smoking jacket.
Fair enough. Well, I'll give the animated Bruce Wayne.
Oh, I mean, by far and
Is the
away,
best.
Kevin Conroy is
Conroy.
the best
And like
Batman.
everyone talks about the difference he does with his voice. Like he makes a conscious effort to speak differently when he is Bruce Wayne.
There is no comparing Kevin Conroy to the rest of them, I'm afraid. For the animated series and for the games, for
Yes.
the animated movies that he's done, he is just levels above. He's
Yes.
absolutely pitch perfect. But live action ones, I actually think the most true and honest Bruce Wayne genuinely is Adam West.
Yeah.
I mean, he's arguably the worst Batman, but he's the best Bruce Wayne. His Batman is a dude in a skin tight suit that's a little bit not built very well.
No.
He's got a little bit of podge on him.
A little bit. Well,
Just a little bit. He's
Just
got
like
a
an
little bit
old-timey strong man kind of
old-timey
physique.
strong man. He looks like Robert Mitchum.
Yeah, essentially.
Robert Mitchum would have been a great Batman.
He would have looked good in that suit.
He would.
But yeah.
I've always thought Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne.
He was very kind of dull either way. Like he didn't do anything
Definitely
different
looks
when
like Bruce Wayne.
but he didn't do anything different when he was Batman. Like he still
No, he
talked the
didn't.
same. He
That's true.
still acted the same. You know, the ones who are really into it are like making, you know, differences, making obvious differences when they are Bruce Wayne to when they're Batman.
I think Christian Bale.
I mean, I
Is
didn't
it-
think Affleck was bad.
Affleck's a very good Bruce Wayne, actually. Affleck's a very good Bruce Wayne and a very good Batman.
Yeah.
Actually, it is a shit, and I know, you know, people get angry either way about Ben Affleck and all the business surrounding those kind of movies, don't they? But my opinion is that it saddens me that more of Ben Affleck won't be seen
Yeah.
as Batman. It does, because I thought he was really good as both Bruce and Batman.
Yeah.
In the two movies, we get even BVS, which is a little bit of an all over the place movie, but certainly
As an older, you know, at the end of his career,
yeah,
you know,
certainly
definitely.
in Snyder's Justice League, as both, he was nailed on as that version, you know, as that very, very confident, very sure version of Bruce
And
Wayne
then
and Batman. He knows his responsibilities as both.
Christian Bale kind of takes the extreme, I think, of all the different Bruce Waynes and Batmans, you know.
He does, but I think he's a very good Batman. I think he's a better Batman than he is Bruce Wayne.
So I like that he kind of, but like he plays it so extreme as a persona that it feels like a persona.
That is true. I
You
mean,
know,
the
jumping
voice
into fountains with girls. And
oh well, the Bruce
taking
Wayne,
the whole,
yes,
absconding with the whole ballet on his boat. Like he's doing these things to a kind of cartoonish degree, you know. So it
that
feels
might
like
be where
a
the
persona.
cartoonishness comes in Nolan's movies. Then
'Cause
the
I think,
slightly over the top nature of Batman.
Because I think the whole point is let's play it ridiculous,
Yeah.
so that people will not associate me with Batman. But I think it's just too extreme, you know. And the fact that he does really not, he's an awful businessman, and like I think doesn't Wayne Corp go like broke in that movie?
I think
in
so.
One of
Yeah.
those movies in the Nolan universe.
In Batman Begins, I think.
So he doesn't really do much to like save.
In Batman
the
Begins, no,
company.
he ruins Wayne Enterprises, and then his house blows up. That's what happened, and then
yeah.
He also like, I mean, it's the story as opposed to his actual Bruce Wayne and Batman, isn't it? But between both movies, he just becomes a recluse. There's 3 movies, and between the two of there's no, you know, it's like, oh, we haven't seen Batman in years. Where is he?
Yeah.
Where's Bruce Wayne as well? Oh, I'm in bed. I'm sat in bed.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Recluse. Now Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is a recluse, but if by the time of the next movie it turns out Batman hasn't been seen for 3 years, I'll be going, what? That doesn't make sense at all. And it never made sense to me with the continuation. Look, as movies on their own, you know, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight is certainly excellent.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight Rises is decent for the most part. But as a continuation, as a follow-on from each other, it's a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, because I think 7 years have passed.
Like that's too long.
Yeah.
It's too long for so little to have happened.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the 5th anniversary of Harvey Dent. The 5th anniversary of Harvey
The Dent
Dent's death.
Act. The Dent Act put all these prisoners away, so we don't need Batman anymore. Like, okay.
Drivel.
Yeah. I get what you're saying about kind of losing a little bit of love for the Nolan movies, at this point.
I just
On
have. I think,
rewatches
and you know what? I think I blame the MCU for it. I positively blame the MCU for it, not negatively blame them, because what they've given us is such, really, if we're being honest, such authentic superhero movies
yeah.
that you've been, what's the word? Spoilt. You've been spoilt by having too many very superhero, very comic book movie feeling comic book movies.
Yeah.
You've had way too many of them. So to go back to those, and it just feels like, well, where's the silliness?
Yeah.
Where's a little bit of fun? I want one joke, please, Christian. It's just like, where is it? And you even get him in this movie. This movie that paints itself as the darkest, nastiest Batman movie in history, but it's also a little bit silly. And that's my feelings really on where I'm at with
this movie.
Batman, is that my favoured type of Batman now happens to be exactly what I was given in this movie, whereas it's it's not a, because if we're being honest, some of the MCU can get a little bit, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, oh, what a funny joke that you've made about a meme from 6 months ago that goes out of date as the instant the movie comes out. What a way to date your movie, the MCU. All the stupid jokes that they have. It's just like, oh yeah, I remember when that was a thing on that random day in 2014.
Oh yes.
It's just
we didn't do a car
anymore.
comparison.
Oh no, we didn't.
Thumb drive, yes.
Thumb drive. Yeah, again, that is a joke, Janine. Thumb drive, that is a joke. The MCU could never. The MCU could never do such a subtle joke
with a human thumb.
With a human thumb. What the MCU would do would have someone, I don't know, what's a trend that the children like these days, Janine?
I'm old. You can't ask me that.
I know, but you're younger than Christina. What's a trend that the children? You have children, Christina. What's the trend that the children like these days?
The children.
Because that's what the MCU would do.
Yes.
They'd have a joke. I mean, look, Shang-Chi, as much as I really did enjoy Shang-Chi, Awkwafina in that movie is literally a walking meme. She's just throwing out gags from recent times, and that's funny.
Oh my gosh!
Dio Karen's hit one. Yes, in Black Panther, Shuri. What are those? Nobody's going to remember that in 5 years. Nobody's going to have a clue what the hell that's about. No one knows what it's about now. The movie's only 4 years old.
Yeah.
It's idiotic to have things like that in your movie. It just is. When you are such a, when you pass yourself as a timeless kind of movie,
Yeah. You can't put stuff like that in there.
You can't put stuff like that in it. And this, the Batman is far more timeless as a movie than the MCU are.
Well, yeah, and that's what I've always loved about the animated series. It hits this weird kind of Art Deco 20s, even to the 50s era with the style of everything. But you are seeing some modern kind of things.
Modern tech.
That so you never really know what time, period it takes place in.
Exactly. Let's finish off then with a Batmobile comparison, because we do get a little nice little extended cameo from the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Really, in this movie, I mean, it's not really a Batmobile as much as it's just a car.
Like a crazy muscle car where you can like see the engine and the fire and
But as we
you
know,
know.
Janine, I like the muscle cars from
You
the
do.
Fast and Furious
So I
movies.
definitely like the muscle car. It felt very indestructible and very
It
cool
did.
and also of the world and also grounded, like a car that would exist.
Yeah.
The tumbler always felt a little clunky and weird. I liked kind of that it
Do
could
you know
like
what? I
turn
never
into a
liked
bike,
the Tumbler.
but yes, it always felt very kind of so that real world like military technology type thing. But yeah, always just not aesthetically attractive.
I far preferred Christian Bale's Batman when he was riding the bike than when he was
Yes.
in the actual full tumbler.
Tumbler. Yeah.
It was too bulky. It was too
Yeah,
weird.
it was too
wasn't.
tankish.
Yeah, it was. It was a tank.
Yes, Bat Tank.
Bat tank.
Gia
Yes.
Karen says yes.
Michael Keaton's, I do like.
Yes, very stylish.
Very
and I think a lot
much.
of those elements went into the animated one as well.
Yes.
Just the longness of it. I don't know how that thing turns corners, but
No idea. No idea.
so long.
You will have noted from our watch along of Batman Forever that I really don't like Val Kilmer's.
No, this exoskeleton neon nonsense.
I don't even remember George Clooney's.
I think it's similar. It's still got that like exoskeleton kind of thing going on. I think it's even more stripped down.
But I do kind of like Adam West's because it's just like a big 60s car.
Yeah.
Does Ben Affleck actually drive a Batmobile as much as he just drives cars?
No, he has a Batmobile.
I don't remember it, Janine.
I don't know that I can remember it like off of my memory either.
Oh yes, he must do. He must do.
He does.
Yes,
and the whole terrible where they're in that deserted city and they're driving around and killing all the parademons. He's in his Batmobile.
Was that not in the actual Zack Snyder's one? That whole scene. Was it in that?
I think they changed it though, didn't they?
They changed it so it like didn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get confused.
Yeah, his is kind of flat and it's all right. Definitely not terrible.
I don't necessarily remember it.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I
probably should watch Justice League again. And by Justice League, I mean the Snyder one. I don't mean
I've only watched
the other one. But yeah, I suppose there is the comparison then, Janine.
Right.
The Batman. There we go.
As we hit an hour and 50 minutes. The time you were like...
I don't like it. This isn't a movie, Janine. This is a live stream. You can go on for as long as you want or as short as you want. It's a live stream. It's not a movie. It doesn't have a structure.
What were you saying about 1 hour, 50 minutes?
Right, well, we've got to finish quickly, so bye. Yes, the Batman.
Yeah,
isn't it fun? Oh no, we had one more category. Morgan wins. Oh no, it might become 2 hours 10 minutes. No, the future.
Oh, okay.
So, the Batman 2. What's that movie then, Janine? What's that movie?
I definitely want to see more from the Catwoman. Because I really liked their chemistry. I liked their teamwork. Them kind of fighting each other, fighting together. Those moments felt very... I know. So I would like her to come back in some capacity.
So would I.
That like he needs her help and she comes back to help him or something, you know. A reveal of another villain that we know and kind of see how they reinterpret them.
Well, I'm curious. Right. We haven't talked about Barry Keoghan.
No. So I'm really curious to see what he does because
I
this is
don't
a
want
big.
to see
These are
Barry
some
Keoghan.
big clown shoes to fill.
Don't want it.
So why? Why?
I
What?
don't
Why?
because we
I
don't
liked.
need it, do we? It's just stupid to do that again.
And if this was a one-off, I would have loved that reveal even more because I thought it was just like a fun back and forth conversation between the two,
Him
and like
in
the things
Arkham.
he was saying, the things he was saying, like their whole kind of conversation they were having in Arkham. I loved that. I thought that was
Keep
so
him in Arkham.
fun. Can you just let me
Yes.
and stop being ridiculous? I loved the conversation they were having. I thought it was really fun and inherent of it felt very kind of comic booky and like a cool reveal of the character. And like I think I would have enjoyed it more had it been a one-off because now I'm kind of frightened because yes, these are huge shoes to fill. I don't know what he can bring to that. I loved him in the Eternals. So, I'm curious.
So did I.
I'm curious, but I loved the reveal. I thought it was a lot of fun and kind of him throwing a riddle back to the Riddler and them kind of just ending with this maniacal villain laugh felt so cartoonish and comic booky. So I loved that.
I
And
agree with
see
Marie.
him. He's in shadow. So I liked the reveal of him being in a cell next to him. I would be perfectly content and fine if they left him in Arkham
Yes.
and him just, because I think I saw something there where there was supposed to be a scene where Batman actually goes to the Joker in a very Silence of the Lambs-esque scene and asks the Joker for consulting help.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that it was supposed to be a deleted scene, wasn't it?
Yes. So I mean, if they use the Joker in this in the shadows capacity, like they did in that final scene, I could be okay with that. But I don't know that
I also could be okay with that. If Barry Keoghan wants to come in for criminal help, playing not quite Joker,
and
because
something in the shadows,
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun and really cool and something we've never seen from the Joker because of course we always have to see him in full effect.
But
I don't know that we need to see him in full effect.
No,
right
no,
now.
no.
Not
Not right now, not ever.
No. So because he's a loved villain, he's a loved character that people want to see. So
You've seen
at this
14
moment,
versions of him.
I just don't. Well, same with Batman. Same with all of these characters.
Not
so you
all
can't
of
throw
these
that
characters.
on it. You can't throw
I'm
that on
talking
it.
about the villains, Janine.
Yeah, well, same with the villains. We've seen several iterations of these villains, so you can't throw that on him as the thing. That's like. So I'm just saying, like, we've gotten a lot of Joker. We've gotten some epic portrayals that stand the test of time that are iconic. And so it's a scary thing to even think about for comic book fans and fans of the character and Batman fans. So yeah, I'm a little hesitant to get excited about that, but I loved how they played with these two villains kind of coming together and maniacally laughing and throwing riddles at each other and all of this thing at the end. I loved that little bubble because I love Batman Rogues. That's why he's like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because
Look,
that felt very villainous and comic booky. So I absolutely love that moment. Where it will go, I'm a little hesitant to get super excited about.
Look, I did enjoy that particular scene to a degree. I do like Barry Keoghan. He is also called Barry Keoghan. That is just how you pronounce his name, and I won't hear any different. I'm happy to have him, like you said, stay in Arkham. Every now and again, you come to him for some sort of, how do I get into the mind of a weirdo? Barry Keoghan knows. Yes, I'll go to Arkham. That's what I want. I don't want another goddamn Batman Joker movie. Don't. I just don't. I'm not for a long, long, long time. There's other things
to explore.
I want. Hush. I would like Hush.
I would
Tommy
love to see
Elliott.
I would love to see Poison Ivy again.
or
Like
Ivy.
she's one villain we've only seen the one time.
It is
And
true,
like
but do you think she fits in
in this
such
world.
a world?
I don't know.
Weirdly, and you'd have to be very, very careful with it, Mr. Freeze fits in this world
Well,
more
that
than
is
Ivy
discussed.
does.
That was discussed doing a grounded Mr. Freeze.
You
But
could
I mean,
do that.
like Dia Karen says, like, okay, DA is dead. That's a great way to bring in Harvey Dent.
It's
But
true.
there was a whole Batman the Animated Series storyline where Harvey is talking to Bruce about this great woman he's met. He meets her, she's great. And, you know, she kisses Harvey goodbye and he goes into like a coma. And this woman he was dating was Poison Ivy, and she had her whole plan. So even if they kind of introduce her as Harvey's girlfriend, and then something in the plot that they've contrived leads to her building up her whole plan, and we don't see her kind of become Poison Ivy yet, if this is going to be a series of films, even just to set up Pamela Isley, that
Well,
character,
yes,
because
yes.
I want more ladies. I'm a lady.
No,
I
you
want
are.
more
That is
ladies.
yes,
And all we've gotten is Harley Quinn, and I want more. You know,
yes. I mean, that is
so
yes, yes.
even just a
I
setup of
do.
Pamela
Yes.
Isley, and she's literally the only one that we've seen maybe like one time in theatrical film. You
Well,
know,
and Freeze
and Freeze, yes. So yeah, and I think that's definitely what has been
and
discussed more than
Scarecrow
anything else.
and Ra's al
Mhm.
Ghul and Bane.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
loads. Um,
But I feel like we're getting the same ones constantly all the time.
I stopped calling him Ra's al Ghul as well. The Nolan movie. That's not how you pronounce it. It's Ra's al Ghul.
Yes.
Anyway,
It's different. It's pronounced both and in different things. But
anyway,
yes. So I just want more ladies.
I agree with that, and now I'm starting to think about if you can ground Freeze, why can't you ground Ivy?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, really ground it. Literally. Just make her love plants so much. She loves plants. She just wants
And that's
plants.
always why she wants to like I think that's why she tries to kill Harvey, is because he's like he passed something that like gonna like kill a bunch of plants, or like he's building a prison or building a thing that is destroys all these rare plants, and that's why. So like, you know, they could give
do
her
it,
more
but
than
you
just
could do
something
it.
like that, but you know, just have another villain lurking with a
And
ridiculous motive in the shadows.
I
You know?
don't even know why
Or
we're
making her
suggesting.
power play.
I don't even know why we're suggesting that it has to be grounded, because this isn't Christopher Nolan.
No,
You
but because I think
could, if you wanted, do full on. I've turned green. I'm getting tree roots to pop out of the road. Poison
but
Ivy.
even if like, you know, her ultimate agenda is saving plant life, whatever, but also her being a part of the big power play that's going to happen in Gotham, because there is going to be a power play that happens.
Well, that's why I lean towards the kind of logical steps forward that seem the personal and political type villains, rather than. I mean, I suppose Ivy to a degree is a political villain, but then again, I've always not liked Ivy as a villain because she's essentially just an environmentalist, and we shouldn't be villainizing environmentalists.
But she's very extreme.
She is very extreme. I know that, but so that's why I go with Hush with Tommy Elliott. That's why I like that, because just when Bruce thinks, you know, his past, you know, he's getting over his past, here comes Tommy Elliott to mess all that up.
Just kind of still, since we're working in this window of a young Bruce, I think that works as well.
It does.
You know?
It does. Dia Karen brings up the Court of Owls. A lot of people are talking about that. That's obviously highly political kind of Gotham's underbelly situation, which seems to work very well in this world. I would, I would quite like to see that. You just want to see, you do want to, and you do want to see the more almost famous Batman villains that might be a bit silly, might be a bit too cartoonish.
You want to see the Reeves twist on them,
but you kind of want to see it. You kind of want to see it because you haven't before. Like, do you not kind of want to see Clayface?
Yes, he is a great villain.
He's got, but like, you kind of want to see Clayface, but does a big walking, shape-shifting thing of clay fit in this world?
Yeah.
Yeah, does it? Not quite sure. Can you make it fit? Yeah, possibly.
That's the challenge.
I think it's easier to fit in Freeze, even though the tough thing, I suppose.
But his motives have always been kind of emotional.
He has been emotional. I suppose the easy thing, though, with picking your villains as Penguin, Catwoman, Riddler, is they're all people that aren't doing anything above what human beings can do. They're not doing anything above that. Freeze is because he turns into a frozen person.
Yes.
Ivy is because she turns into a plant person.
Yeah.
These villains are great. They are. To have the characters in the world, I think, would work. To have, we're talking to Pamela Isley, like you said. We're talking to Victor Freeze, whatever it may be. I think that's how you do those characters. Ultimately, I just think it is. I mean, I don't know, though. I don't know. And I don't like
it's hard to see. And it's hard to see how any villains that are kind of a bit fantastical fit in this world. But I'm really curious to see them try,
Absolutely.
This movie definitely left me wanting more. Even though I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, I'm definitely excited to see what's to come because it definitely set up some really interesting things. It set this character in motion and you felt that. You felt him be a little clumsy. You felt him kind of trying different avenues to being Batman and you felt that he's still figuring it out. So you kind of want to see him develop. You want to see his growth. You want to see where he's going with this. So despite not loving it as much as I want to, I'm still really excited to see where this goes and see what this Batman can do and him grow into the Batman that we kind of know in his later years.
Yeah. I'm into it. Yeah. I can't wait to see more from it, really. I mean, I just wish the UK had HBO Max so we wouldn't have to wait longer for something like the Penguin, which we are doing. Because I think we have only just actually got not that I know when it is, I just saw a headline. We have actually got a platform and a date, I believe, for the UK release of the Peacemaker show.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
so
I love Peacemaker.
We will be getting that. So
and I would love to do like a week to week or even just a big kind of show retrospective, on the channel. But because you can't get it, we couldn't do that.
Exactly. It's HBO. It's a
weird thing.
It's a weird one. It's a weird one for Britain. But yeah, there we go. I think we're going to call it there then, Janine.
Yeah.
The Batman, with over 2 hours there. There's a lot to talk about. Yes. There's an awful lot to talk about and an awful lot to love when it comes to this particular movie. Thank you kindly to all those who have been watching. We've had a nice little chat today. We've had a nice little few people watching. This is good. She's good things for the It's a Wonderful Podcast
Yes. So
YouTube
put a
channel.
like on there. Put a
Yes.
like on the video if you would, if you're here hanging out.
Do the subscribes, do the notification bells, share the stuff around. Go to the podcast feed as well, of course. It's a Wonderful Podcast. That is our main home. Any place you get your podcasts, we will be there Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed. Monday with Machine Mondays, Wednesday with Morgan Hasn't Seen, and Friday with the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast itself. This YouTube channel is ancillary content to that. That is our main home. This is just the fun stuff we do extra.
Yeah.
That's fun. The watch-alongs, the discussions like this that I really love doing. And I love doing everything live. Do you know what? Live is just better.
Yeah.
Because you can have interaction, Janine.
Yes, I
You
like
can
that.
have interaction with people that are actually watching you and taking good time out of their day to support, which we just love. So there you go. But yes, finally, It's a Wonderful Podcast feed, all places podcasts are found. We, of course, have the Patreon as well, if you would like to support that way. It's a Wonderful Podcast on Patreon for all the fun tiers and other great stuff we have on Patreon. You can find the show on Twitter, the channel on Twitter, at It's a Wonderful One. Our Twitter social media handles are in our little squares there at the purple dot with a 3 instead of the E and the because, Janine.
3 is the magic number.
You are there, of course, at Janine Debeen _ on Twitter, but just Janine Debeen on everywhere else.
Yes.
That you are
The
on, so that's
Instagrams and
nice.
the TikToks.
Yes. Well, anything else you would like to say there, Janine?
I am vengeance.
And I am the Jim Gordon. Let's call it there. Thank you, everybody, for watching again.
Bye.
I think there's only one bye thing to say. Yes, let's do it. Bye.
Bye.